everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Today, I want to share the 8 life lessons I learned from the great Nick Saban. Love him or hate him, he is unofficially or officially, depending on what side of the fence you're on, the greatest college football coach of all time. He broke all kinds of records. He had insurmountable odds against him. I became really impressed with Nick Saban when I realized how much turnover he had in his supporting coaching staff. The demand from other schools to go and basically steal the guys that are underneath him, that is extremely difficult to work in, let alone produce national championships at the scale that he has. And he has created a book. I've read his book. And so today I wanted to share with you the 8 lessons that I learned from Nick Saban when it comes to leading, creating great teams, and really conquering life with what you do. I think his books, I think it's called Nick Saban, A Champion's Tips on How to Lead and Succeed. So let's go over this. So number one, every great organization starts with a great mission statement about the company and where it is going. Doesn't matter if you're Pfizer or you're Facebook or you're an Alabama football team, you have to have a mission statement on where you guys want to go. It makes everybody in the organization feel like they're working towards something rather than working just to work. There's a really good book called Drive. I forget the author is. And in that book, he talks about there's 3 main things that drive and retain employees. Number one is autonomy. They don't want to be micromanaged. They want to feel like they've got control over themselves to do what they want and make the position work. Number 2 is they've got to feel like they have the opportunity to grow within the organization. If they see that there's a ceiling there, they're going to go somewhere else where they can go higher than that ceiling. And number 3, they have to feel like they are being a part of something that is bigger than themselves. This is where this concept of big, hairy, audacious goal from Jim Collins came from. You need to feel like you're going somewhere. You're part of like some kind of bigger impact, whatever that may be. You know, here at HBG Capital, we're trying to solve veteran homelessness right here in Middle Tennessee by working with great organization and aligning our interests with theirs to be able to help more veterans come out of homelessness and integrate back into society. So you've got to have that mission statement that everybody buys into. At Alabama, he talks about, and I'm going to butcher this, so go look it up, don't quote me, but it had something to do with giving his athletes the tools that they need to succeed at life. Literally, the football mission statement was not to win championships. It was not to be the best athlete out there or to be the best football team. It was to give his teammates, his students, his players the best tools and opportunities to succeed in life. And he used football as a way to teach them those skills, teach them that work ethic, and teach them that value. So super cool mission statement there. Number 2, don't commit to the result, commit to the process. I love this. One thing that we have done here at our company is we have made a bigger push to start looking at the inputs and not the outputs. Everybody wants to focus on the outputs. How many sales you do, how much capital that you raise. And the problem with focusing just on the outputs is that if you don't hit your output by the designated date and you don't have any inputs that you're measuring, you have no way to control your outputs. Here, what he's talking about is he's telling his players, and this is a really great mindset. It's a great tool to be able to take chaos and really focus it, is he tells his players when things are crazy, they're going to the national championship, they're getting interviewed by people that are asking to come on like news channels, which can be extremely distracting for a very young man to deal with. He says, focus on the process. Commit to the process. Do not commit to the result. Commit to the process of being great. In other words, focus on what you need to do today, what you need to do at practice, what you need to do in the meantime. Maybe it's the night before the big game, right? Commit to what you need to do. Don't go out the night before. Just focus on what has to happen for you to get the input, not the output. Number 2, everything you think about winning a national championship or anything else, stop. Instead, focus on how you can dominate your opponent for the next 60 minutes. And he says, or in business as well. So this kind of goes back to the first, the third, the second one that I was just saying, is he's talking about just focus on what you need to do to beat your opponent. Don't focus on the result that you're trying to achieve. What do you need to do to beat your opponent right in front of you? So he was really good at adjusting on the spot to other coaches and other teams and how they would play, because he was like, how do I just beat the opponent? I'm just focused on the next step, what's right in front of me right now. That's it. A lot of people get overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, I've got to beat all these great football teams. Holy cow, how are we going to beat all of them? This seems insurmountable. Or, oh my gosh, trying to get to $10 million a year in revenue, that's going to be so difficult. That is just this insurmountable mountain that I've got to climb. How am I going to do it? Oh my gosh, it's too much work. Why even try? Why even bother? Forget all that. It's kind of like running a marathon. Just focus on your next step. Just focus on getting to the next milestone. Number 4, I love this. Don't look at the scoreboard. He told this story in the book how I think somebody asked him, hey, when you're trailing in the fourth quarter, how are you able to focus the team around that and prevent the team from getting, demoralized? Or how are you able to prevent the other team from making a comeback in the fourth quarter? And he said, we do not focus on the scoreboard. Whenever I hear players start to talk about how far ahead we are up, or maybe how far down we are, I tell them, do not look at that scoreboard. Focus on what you've got to do at hand. Play the very best that you can possibly play right here and right now. So I really love that. In life, we're looking at the scoreboard all the time. Facebook, social media, we are so focused on what everybody else is doing, comparing ourselves to them. Fourth quarter, we get down. It's easy to look at that scoreboard, show that we're losing. That feeds into our subconscious. It kills us. It demoralizes us. And as a result of that, we do end up losing the game because we're not as motivated. We do not have the psyche, the mental stamina to keep going to try to pull that win out. So don't focus on the scoreboard in business. Number 5, we are responsible for what we create, not our opponent. I remember when we were playing soccer at a young age, for whatever reason, I was so focused on the other team during warm-up, looking at them, judging them. One team had this pink polka dotted shirts on, and we could not take them seriously. We're like, oh my gosh. And because of that, I remember we didn't play very seriously. And we actually ended up getting beat by a team that had polka dotted pink shirts. Again, this was in high school. It might have even been in middle school. But I was so bummed out about that, that we lost by that, because we created that. We were focusing on our opponents. We're not taking them seriously. We went into that game with the wrong mindset. And as a result, we really lost. Number 6, your opponent should never determine your level of competitive spirit. I kind of just gave that one away. That sort of is the same as number 5. We are responsible for what we create, not our opponent. So let's skip to number 7 here. The ability to eliminate the clutter will go a long way in your success. I touched on this a little bit already, but revisiting in the book, he talks about how one of the reasons great teams can blow a national championship is there's so much pressure and attention on the players going into a national championship. There's, people that want to talk to them. They're getting a lot of press. There's a lot of, interviews that they want. And these kids have never dealt with anything like that before. It is extremely distracting. And when there's that much pressure on you to perform, it can cause the exact opposite effect. People get stage fright, right? If you've ever had to publicly speak for the first time, I would probably compare it to that. You're probably really nervous and you're perfectly prepared to go in with that speech, but for whatever reason, all the pressure and eyeballs on you, it makes you not perform to the best of your abilities. It's the same thing here. Your ability to eliminate the clutter will go a long way. And he talks about this in some of the other ones I mentioned. It's commit to the process. Focus on how you can dominate your opponent. Don't look at the scoreboard. He tells his players, focus on what you need to do today. And that's it. Just think about that and execute on that. Take the next step. And finally, number 8, champions take an attitude of dominance everywhere they go. I love this advice because how you do anything is how you do everything. I learned early on at Ace Hardware that I had a really bad attitude. And it was this, well, once I make it or once I get a good job, then I'll start to care. And as a result of that mindset, I didn't really care. I didn't do a good job at my job. I didn't straighten the shelves right. My attitude kind of sucked, my customer service, and had a conversation with somebody, a coworker, who kind of pointed out my crappy attitude. And after that conversation he had with me, I was like, you know what? Doesn't matter what job I'm doing. It doesn't matter what task I'm performing. I'm going to perform it to the very best of my abilities. I don't care if it's sweeping the floors or building rocket ships. I'm going to do it to the very best of my ability. And that skill set has continued to carry with me through the rest of my life. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, leave us some love, give us some reviews, and share this with friends and family. Till next time.